This is the Dive Into Discovery podcast, where curiosity meets insight, and every conversation uncovers a new layer of understanding.
Welcome to our deep dive into the world of CRISPR. This technology is less science fiction and more science right now,
Yeah.
And it's bringing up some really big questions. We've got articles, research summaries, the works. We're talking about editing genes, cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia,
Yeah.
potentially wiping them out, but also designer babies, bringing back extinct species. It gets wild.
What I find fascinating is the sheer breadth of CRISPR's potential. We're talking healthcare agriculture, even things like controlling invasive species. But as with any powerful tool, understanding its implications is crucial, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So CRISPR is like this super precise set of molecular scissors that can cut and paste DNA. We're talking about editing the very building blocks of life.
Exactly. It's incredible that we can manipulate the code of life with this level of precision. And that's both the incredible promise and the source of the ethical considerations surrounding CRISPR. We could correct genetic diseases, but we also open the door to things like selecting traits for our children, which brings up the designer baby debate.
Curing diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries is huge. Imagine a world without cystic fibrosis or Huntington's disease. That's a game changer, right?
The potential impact on medicine is revolutionary. CRISPR could lead to personalized treatments tailored to your unique genetic makeup. Imagine fighting cancer by editing your immune cells to target tumors directly. We're talking about a whole new paradigm for healthcare.
But hold on. We're also talking about altering the human germline. Those changes get passed down to future generations. Are we stepping into territory we don't fully understand?
Well, it's a question society needs to grapple with. And there's also the risk of unintended consequences. Off-target effects, accidental edits could have unforeseen health risks. It's a tightrope walk between groundbreaking potential and unforeseen consequences.
This isn't just about us humans, is it? CRISPR can edit the genes of any living thing.
Exactly. Think about disease-resistant crops that can withstand climate change. Or imagine using gene drives to eradicate malaria-carrying mosquitoes. The potential benefits for agriculture and ecosystems are enormous.
Okay, let's talk about gene drives for a second, because that seems like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. You're telling me we can literally change the genetic makeup of an entire species. How does that even work?
It's pretty remarkable. A gene drive uses CRISPR to ensure that a specific gene is inherited by almost all offspring, allowing it to spread rapidly through a population. Think of it as a way to force the inheritance of a particular trait. Scientists are exploring this for controlling mosquito populations that carry diseases like malaria.
So we could potentially wipe out malaria with this technology. That's incredible. But what about the potential ecological impacts? Couldn't tinkering with an entire species have unforeseen consequences?
You're right to point that out. It's a powerful tool that requires careful consideration. While the potential benefits are huge, we need to study the potential ecological ripple effects. Changing one element of an ecosystem can have cascading effects on other species.
So where do we draw the line? Who gets to decide how this technology is used? It's not just scientists anymore. There are biohackers doing DIY gene editing in their garages.
This raises crucial questions about regulation, accessibility, and the potential for misuse. Even something intended for good, like disease eradication, could have unintended consequences for biodiversity. We need open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of this technology, and we need them now.
I remember that Chinese scientist who edited human embryos a few years back. It caused a global uproar. It felt like a line was crossed.
That case highlighted the need for international dialogue and ethical guidelines. We need to be having global conversations about where the lines are and how we can ensure responsible use of this technology.
And we also have CRISPR animals being developed. Faster-growing salmon, disease-resistant pigs. Where does it end?
That's an important question to ponder. We're talking about altering the very fabric of life on this planet. The possibilities are seemingly endless, but so are the potential risks.
It sounds like there's a lot of research going on, but also a lot of uncertainty about the long-term effects. It feels like we're standing at the edge of a new frontier, full of potential and uncertainty.
You've hit the nail on the head. We're still in the early stages of understanding the full potential and risks of CRISPR. There's much more research needed, particularly on things like long-term health effects and the ecological impact of gene editing.
So with all this talk about editing genes, where does traditional gene therapy fit into the picture? Is CRISPR making it obsolete?
That's a great question. They are distinct approaches. Traditional gene therapy typically adds a working copy of a gene without directly altering the existing DNA. Think of it as adding a supplemental instruction manual. CRISPR, on the other hand, allows us to directly edit the DNA sequence, offering more precise treatments. It's like going in and correcting the original instruction manual itself.
So CRISPR is really a game changer in the world of genetics.
I think that's a fair statement. It's a powerful tool that has the potential to revolutionize medicine, agriculture, and even how we understand life itself. It's an exciting time to be alive.
It certainly seems that way. For our listener, what are some of the other ways CRISPR is being used in research today? It seems like it's popping up everywhere.
It is. Scientists are exploring its applications in everything from developing new antibiotics to diagnosing diseases like COVID-19. CRISPR-based diagnostic tests are incredibly sensitive and can detect the presence of a virus or bacteria with remarkable speed and accuracy.
Wow. What about using CRISPR to bring back extinct species? Is that really possible?
Some scientists are exploring the possibility of using CRISPR to de-extinct species like the woolly mammoth or the passenger pigeon. It's a fascinating concept that sparks the imagination.
It does sound like something straight out of Jurassic Park. But wouldn't bringing back extinct species have unforeseen consequences for existing ecosystems?
That's a major concern. Introducing a species back into an environment where it has been absent for centuries could disrupt the balance of the ecosystem. There are also ethical considerations about whether we have the right to bring back species that are no longer part of our world. It's a complex debate.
This whole conversation has been a real eye-opener. It sounds like there are a lot of potential benefits to using CRISPR, but also a lot of risks to consider.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool that needs to be used responsibly and with careful consideration of all the potential implications. It's not something to be taken lightly.
So with all this potential and all these risks, who gets to decide how CRISPR is used? Is there any kind of global regulation of this technology?
That's a complex question, and there's no easy answer. Countries differ widely in their regulations on genetic editing, with some banning human applications altogether. We're in a bit of a Wild West phase with this technology right now.
So someone could potentially travel to another country to receive a CRISPR treatment that's not allowed in their home country.
That's right. This genetic tourism is a growing concern, as it raises questions about safety, equity, and ethics.
It sounds like there are a lot of challenges to overcome before CRISPR can be widely used safely and ethically.
Absolutely. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of research regulation and public education. We need to be having open and honest conversations about this technology and its implications.
So CRISPR is a powerful tool with the potential to change the world. But it also comes with a lot of responsibility.
That's a great way to put it. CRISPR is a double-edged sword. It has the potential to cure diseases and improve lives, but also has the potential to be misused or to have unforeseen consequences. It's up to us to ensure that this technology is used for good.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the potential of CRISPR to cure diseases, enhance crops, and even reshape ecosystems. But with great power comes great responsibility, right? And it seems like there's a lot of debate about how to wield that power ethically and responsibly.
You've summed it up perfectly. The conversation around CRISPR is about so much more than just the science. It's about our values, our ethics, and the kind of future we want to create. It's a conversation we all need to be part of.
And we'll be diving even deeper into that conversation in the next part of our deep dive into CRISPR. Stay tuned to Listener Name. We're just getting started.
It's fascinating how quickly CRISPR has moved from the lab to real-world applications.
Right. We've gone from discovering this gene editing tool to talking about rewriting the code of life in just a few years. It feels like we're on the cusp of something huge, both exciting and a little terrifying.
I think that captures it perfectly, and this rapid pace of development only intensifies those ethical concerns we were discussing. How do we ensure this technology benefits humanity without leading to unintended consequences or exacerbating existing inequalities?
We've talked about the potential for misuse like bioterrorism. Are there safeguards in place to prevent that?
That's a major challenge. While there are efforts to control access to the most dangerous applications of CRISPR, the technology itself is relatively simple and becoming increasingly affordable. This means it could potentially be used by individuals or groups outside of traditional research institutions, making control and regulation much more difficult.
That's a sobering thought. It feels like we need international collaboration on this, not just individual countries setting their own rules.
Absolutely. This is a global issue that requires global solutions. We need to establish international ethical guidelines and regulatory frameworks for gene editing, while also fostering open dialogue and collaboration among scientists, policymakers, and the public.
We talked about designer babies earlier. Is that something that's actually happening? Are there parents out there choosing specific traits for their children?
The technology for that isn't quite there yet, but it's closer than many people realize. And that raises all sorts of questions. What traits would be considered acceptable to edit? Who gets to decide? And what about the potential for discrimination against those who haven't been genetically enhanced?
It's like we're stepping into a science fiction novel, but it's real life.
It is. And it's crucial that we have these conversations now before the technology advances even further. We need to think deeply about the kind of future we want to create with these powerful tools.
One of the most exciting areas of CRISPR research is in medicine. What are some of the most promising developments there?
CRISPR offers hope for treating a vast range of genetic diseases, from cystic fibrosis to sickle cell anemia. Clinical trials are already underway for some of these conditions, and the early results are promising.
It's incredible to think that we might be able to cure diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries.
It is. But we also need to be realistic. CRISPR isn't a magic bullet. It's a complex technology with its own set of challenges. For example, we still need to figure out how to deliver CRISPR to the right cells in the body, and how to ensure that it edits the genes accurately without causing unintended side effects.
What about the potential for using CRISPR to treat cancer?
Yeah.
That seems like a huge area of research.
It is. Scientists are exploring ways to use CRISPR to edit immune cells to make them more effective at targeting and destroying cancer cells. Imagine supercharging your body's natural defenses to fight cancer.
So it's not just about fixing broken genes, but actually enhancing our own immune systems to fight disease.
Exactly. CRISPR opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for personalized medicine tailoring treatments to an individual's unique genetic makeup.
And that brings us back to the question of access. These cutting-edge treatments are likely to be very expensive. How do we ensure they're available to everyone, not just the wealthy?
That's a critical issue that needs to be addressed. We need to make sure that CRISPR technology doesn't exacerbate existing health disparities. We need to find ways to make these treatments affordable and accessible to all who need them.
It seems like CRISPR has the potential to revolutionize agriculture as well. We've all heard about GMOs. Is this the next step in that evolution?
Absolutely. Scientists are using CRISPR to develop crops that are more resistant to disease pests and harsh environmental conditions. Imagine crops that can thrive in drought conditions or resist devastating plant diseases.
So this could be a game changer for food security, especially in the face of climate change.
It could. CRISPR-modified crops could help us produce more food with fewer resources, reducing our environmental impact and making agriculture more sustainable.
What about the concerns about genetically modified organisms or GMOs? Are CRISPR-modified crops going to face the same resistance? People are already wary of GMOs.
That's a valid concern. There's still a lot of public debate about the safety of GMOs. It's important to have open and transparent conversations about the science behind CRISPR and to address public concerns about potential risks. Education and open dialogue are going to be key here.
It seems like transparency is key with this technology. We need to be upfront with the public about both the potential benefits and risks.
It is. We need to involve the public in these discussions, not just scientists and policymakers. We need to build trust and ensure that CRISPR technology is developed and used in a way that benefits all of humanity.
That sounds like a tall order. There's a lot of work to be done to get everyone on the same page.
It is. But it's a challenge we must meet if we want to harness the full potential of this revolutionary technology.
So listener name, we've delved into the exciting potential of CRISPR, from curing diseases to enhancing crops. But we've also uncovered some serious ethical and societal challenges. What are your thoughts so far? What stands out to you? Let us know, because in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore some even more intriguing and perhaps unsettling aspects of CRISPR. We've been talking about CRISPR's potential to revolutionize medicine and agriculture. But what about its implications for the natural world? That's where things get really interesting, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Using CRISPR to edit the genes of wild animals and plants presents both incredible opportunities and complex challenges. It's an area ripe with potential, but also fraught with ethical considerations.
You're talking about actually going into the wild and using CRISPR to edit the genes of plants and animals in their natural habitats. What kind of impact could that have?
The potential impact is enormous. Imagine using CRISPR to help endangered species resist diseases or adapt to climate change. We could potentially restore ecosystems that have been devastated by human activity. It's a powerful tool for conservation.
That sounds almost too good to be true. Are there any real-world examples of this kind of ecological engineering?
There are early projects underway. For example, researchers are exploring ways to use CRISPR to make American chestnut trees resistant to a blight that nearly wiped them out. If successful, it could lead to the restoration of these iconic trees to their former glory.
That's a fantastic example of how CRISPR could be used for conservation. But like you said earlier, there are always risks to consider. Introducing genetically modified organisms into the wild could have unforeseen consequences. What are some of the concerns?
One of the biggest concerns is the potential for unintended consequences. We need to be very careful about disrupting the delicate balance of ecosystems. Thorough ecological assessments are crucial before releasing any CRISPR-modified organisms into the environment.
And then there's the whole concept of gene drives, right? That's where things get really mind-bending. We touched on it earlier. But can you explain a bit more about how they work and what the potential implications are?
Gene drives are a powerful application of CRISPR that allow us to spread a specific genetic trait through an entire population much faster than would naturally occur. Imagine using gene drives to eradicate malaria-carrying mosquitoes or control invasive species that are wreaking havoc on ecosystems.
It sounds like science fiction. But you're saying this is actually becoming a reality.
It is, but gene drives raise serious ethical and ecological concerns. Once released, they could be difficult to control, and they could have unforeseen consequences for biodiversity. We need to have a serious public conversation about the risks and benefits of this technology before deploying it in the wild.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from editing human genes to potentially changing entire species in the wild. It feels like CRISPR is touching every aspect of life as we know it. What are some of the other exciting areas of research you're following?
One area that's particularly fascinating is the use of CRISPR for diagnostics. Scientists are developing CRISPR-based tests that can detect diseases like COVID-19 with incredible speed and accuracy.
So CRISPR could revolutionize healthcare, not just in terms of treatment, but also in how we diagnose diseases. That's a game changer.
Exactly. CRISPR-based diagnostics have the potential to be faster, cheaper, and more portable than traditional testing methods, making them ideal for use in remote areas or in developing countries.
It seems like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with CRISPR, but we've also talked a lot about potential risks. What are some of the things that worry you about this technology?
One of the biggest concerns is the potential for off-target effects. That's when CRISPR accidentally edits the wrong genes, which could lead to unforeseen health problems. It's a risk we need to mitigate through ongoing research and development.
And those unintended edits could be passed down to future generations, right?
That's a sobering thought.
It is. That's why scientists are working hard to improve the accuracy of CRISPR and to develop methods for detecting and correcting off-target edits. We need to proceed with caution and ensure that we fully understand the potential consequences of our actions. This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of CRISPR. We've covered everything from curing diseases to editing ecosystems to the potential risks and ethical challenges. It's clear that CRISPR is a revolutionary technology that has the power to reshape life as we know it.
And the choices we make today will determine the genetic future of our planet. It's up to all of us to engage in this conversation and to ensure that CRISPR is used wisely and responsibly.
One thing's for sure, things are about to get very interesting. What are your thoughts on all of this? What excites you most? What worries you? Let us know. This deep dive is just the beginning of a much larger conversation about the future of life itself.
What did you think of this week's episode? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to join us next time as we dive even deeper. And as always, stay curious, because you never know what discoveries are just around the corner.